Welcome back to International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars. And check it out. Here's some real news that you can use. In the great state of Texas, 2 important bills was passed dealing with trafficking. Human trafficking, all forms of trafficking. We have Senate Bill 1212. Senate Bill 1212. All forms of trafficking are now felonies, Class A felonies in the state of Texas. All forms of trafficking. And we have House Bill 2306. If you are caught, tried, and convicted in the state of Texas of dealing with a minor in trafficking, there will be no chance of parole. If you are caught dealing with a disabled person in the state of Texas, there will be no chance for parole. And also, Senate Bill 1212 increases the penalties for all forms of trafficking. You can receive 25 to 99 years now in the state of Texas for trafficking, possibly a life sentence. Here we go. Let's get straight off into this. Senate Bill 1212, a game changer. All trafficking charges equal first-degree felony. Do you see that? They equal first-degree felonies, all trafficking charges now in the state of Texas as of September 2025. Okay? Pay attention to this. Here we go. Texas Senate Bill 1212, relating to the prosecution and punishment for the offenses of trafficking of persons, increasing a criminal penalty. An act relating to the prosecution and punishment for the offense of trafficking of persons, increasing a criminal penalty. This bill strengthens Texas laws related to human trafficking by expanding and clarifying criminal penalties, particularly in trafficking involving children or disabled individuals. And that's what the House Bill 2306, it really focuses on the children and the disabled. But let's continue. The bill modifies section 20A.02 in the penal code to explicitly state that perpetrators can be prosecuted regardless, right here, this is very important, of whether they knew the age of the child or the victim's disability status. It establishes that trafficking offenses, whether or not you knew the age of the so-called victim or the victim if they're underage, whether or not you knew the age of the victim. It's a first-class felony, and it's also punishable up to life in prison, and there will be no chance for parole if you are found guilty of trafficking a child and or a disabled person in the state of Texas. There will be no chance for parole. If they sentence you to 30 years, you would do the full 30 years. Dealing with a disabled person or a child, you may receive life in prison. They've also made the minimums 25 years up to 99 years. But let's continue. We'll get to that. Involving children or disabled individuals are first-degree felonies with potential penalties of life imprisonment or up to 99 years in prison, especially when the trafficking occurs near specific locations like schools, juvenile facilities, shelters, or community centers. So if you get caught trafficking of persons by a school, juvenile facility, shelter, or community center, that would also increase the time that you receive. And remember, there will be no chance for parole. This is serious business. Pay attention. The bill also updates criminal procedure to allow certain evidentiary rules for these trafficking offenses, ensuring that prosecutors have broader tools to pursue cases involving the sexual exploitation of children and disabled individuals. Additionally, the changes will only apply to offenses committed on or after the bill's effective date of September 1st, 2025, with previous offenses still governed by the laws in effect at the time they were committed. So this is not retroactive. They will just be moving forward from September 1st until. The primary goal of this legislation appears to be providing stronger legal protections and increased criminal penalties for the most vulnerable victims of human trafficking. Let's check out this news story they got on it. They're playing no games about this trafficking in the state of Texas. And once again, they're moving state to state with these stiffer penalties. Here we go.
We begin with a new Texas law that strengthens penalties for those convicted of human trafficking. Fox 26's Jonathan Mejia says it was in part a labor of love for a woman whose daughter was a victim of this practice. Jonathan.
That's right, Tom. Not only do survivors and advocates say the law will help protect potential victims, but lay a tougher hand on traffickers and their operations.
And I would never imagined that it was somebody that she trusted. Julia was in her senior year. She was just 21 days from graduation.
Mary Wells remembers vividly the moment she found out her autistic daughter, Julia Wells, was a victim of human trafficking. Not only was she being trafficked, but she died after being thrown out of a moving car in 2018.
I was very angry and I was upset.
Senate Bill 12, which makes human trafficking a first-degree felony, punishable by 25 to 99 years to life in prison, and
there it is right there, punishable by 25 to 99 years in prison in the state of Texas as of September 2025. This month, right now. Take heed. We're going to take this back a little bit. Here we go.
2018.
I was very angry and I was upset.
Senate Bill 12, which makes human trafficking a first-degree felony, punishable by 25 to 99 years to life in prison, and with the help of advocates like Jacqueline Aludo and survivors like Courtney Litvak with No Trafficking Zone, they fought for legislative change.
First it was school zones, then it was foster care facilities, juvenile detentions, universities, community centers. And she called me this legislative session, Mary Wells, and she said, it's time that we fight to make all of Texas a no trafficking zone.
She was a child. I was a child in high school when I was first approached by traffickers who were peers at my school. This is happening all around us, but where is every single individual under the age of 18 supposed to be? At a school.
So the bill goes into effect starting on Monday, September 1st.
As you can see, they're playing no games about this trafficking. Check this out. HB 2306 and also SB 1212.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here on an issue that has bipartisan support in the state legislature. This is an issue involving human trafficking that Texas has zero tolerance for. And that shows up in the legislation that I'm about to sign, but also shows up every single day when you see and hear what members of the Texas legislature talk about. They are angry about human traffickers, and they want to ensure that Texas has the toughest laws to prevent human trafficking in the state of Texas. Someone who shares that passion, someone who cares dearly about and actively involves herself in supporting the victims of human trafficking is the fabulous First Lady of Texas, Cecilia Abbott, who joins with us here today. I'm going to sign two laws today that address this issue. Before I do, however, I want to recognize, in addition to the members of the legislature and the First Lady who are involved in this, we know that legislation like this gets across the finish line because there are, unfortunately, so many survivors. And importantly, those survivors come to the Capitol and let us know what the problems are, or what the best solutions are to help those survivors. And I thank all the survivors of human trafficking for stepping up and telling their stories, sharing their insight, talking about what needs to be done to help their lives. And we got advocates also who work on this every single day. When you add all that together, that's one reason why Texas is so successful in passing the anti-human trafficking legislation that we passed. So on the zero tolerance side, we want to ensure that we do all we can so that human traffickers never walk the streets of Texas again. These two bills I'm going to sign to help achieve that goal. One,
You hear that? They said they're going to do what they can to make sure human traffickers never walk the streets again. This is serious business. Don't take it as a joke. Take heed. Here we go.
is Senate Bill 1212. It increases the penalty for all human trafficking offenses to a first-degree felony. We want tougher penalties for our worst criminals, and Senate Bill 1212 gets that job done. And then the worst of the worst are human traffickers of children and people with disabilities. House Bill 2306 ensures that those traffickers will serve every single day of their prison sentence behind bars. No.
Did y'all hear that? Every single day of your prison sentence will be served behind bars if you get caught dealing with a minor or dealing with a disabled person, regardless of whether you know it or not. Take heed. Pay attention. Find something legal to do. Here we go.
Traffickers of children and people with disabilities. House Bill 2306 ensures that those traffickers will serve every single day of their prison sentence behind bars. No parole for these worst of the worst. Among other things, this will protect survivors from the trauma of having to attend parole hearing after parole hearing and have to go through that whole experience again. So I want to thank Senator Parker and Representatives Villalobos and Helen Kerwin for stepping up and getting this legislation to my desk.
And as you can see there, it's 100% official. Both these bills are now law, signed into law as of September 2025 in the state of Texas. All trafficking offenses are considered felonies. First, Class A felonies. Okay? They're not playing no games. Punishable from 25 to 99 years in prison. You get caught dealing with a minor. You get caught dealing with somebody that's disabled, involving trafficking in the state of Texas. There will no longer be parole in those cases. There will be zero chance for parole. Here we go. Let's check this out. Let's get this off the screen real quick. Okay, here we go. House Bill 2306, relating to changing the eligibility for release on parole of certain inmates serving sentences for trafficking offenses involving child victims and disabled individuals. There will be no parole once again. An act relating to changing the eligibility for release on parole of certain inmates serving sentences for trafficking offenses involving child victims and disabled individuals. This bill modifies the eligibility for parole for inmates convicted of certain human trafficking offenses, specifically those involving child victims and disabled individuals. So if they sentence you to that 20 years sentence, there will be no chance of parole. You would do the full 20 years before you are released. Pay attention. Leave those kids alone. Okay, here we go. Let's check this out. Get back up here. This is Section 1 of Senate Bill 1212. Section 1. You can read over it, check it out. We'll post Section 1 through 4. Once again, this is not a game. This is not a joke. The state of Texas, they are playing no games, and this is moving throughout the states. The state laws are look like they're mirroring or adopting the federal laws when it comes to trafficking, especially when it comes to trafficking a child. Don't throw your life away. Okay, here we go. Section 2. Section 2. Leave this up here. You can read over it. Pause it. Take a screenshot. Pass it on to somebody. Share the video. Okay, here we go. Section 3 and 4. There will be no chance of parole, whether you knew it or not. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And there you have it. International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And we will see you on the next one.